Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching the Breakfast Show. And in our second segment for today, we are going to talk about Egyptian tennis champion and player Mayar Sherif, who who advanced to the second round of Roland Garros, becoming the first Egyptian woman to win a main draw match at the competition. The 19-year-old is 9 places behind Sherif at 58, but proved herself as a tough opponent, and she becomes the first time Sharifa has won a main draw at Roland Garros match, and only the second Egyptian to do so after Ismail El-Shafai. He is also a tennis player. And today we are joined by Mr. Hassan Al-Arousi. He is a former tennis champion, and he is also the Vice President of the Egyptian Tennis Federation and member of the International Tennis Federation. Good morning, Mr. Hassan.
Good morning. How are you?
Great,
Thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, Mr. Hassan, as I've just mentioned that Mayar Sherif had advanced to the main draw of Roland Garros, and she won 1 match. So can you tell us more about this achievement?
I'm sorry, could you, the last part, could you say it again? Because
yes,
we have a bad connection.
Yes, I'm talking about Mayar Sherif's achievement,
yes,
and
at
Roland Garros competition. How do you see this achievement?
Obviously, this achievement has been achieved through Mayar's many years of proper planning and developing as a player, and entering the world of tennis, the WTA. It all depends on how well she was prepared for many years. But obviously, recently, in the past 2 years, Mayar has been able to enter the top 200 in the WTA world ranking, and
yes,
last year she reached 100, and as you know, now she's in the top 50 in the world. So obviously, this achievement is not of just, you know, today's effort. It's been years that probably Mayar, with her technical team and her coach, backed by the Egyptian Tennis Federation, has reached that level. And by entering Roland Garros as the main draw player, because she is number 49 in the world now, I think this gave her a very strong motivation in her first match, and she won it. And again, as you said, it's the first time in many years for an Egyptian player to win a main round match at Roland Garros after captain Ismail El-Shafai in the 70s. Unfortunately, due to her injury in her leg, she had to withdraw for the tournament. We expected, as Egyptian Tennis as a federation, that she can even move even to the 3rd round, but due to the injury, she had to withdraw. Thank you.
Do you think, sir, that this is considered a turning point for Egyptian tennis here in Egypt, that one of its players has won one of the important matches in Roland Garros?
Obviously, Mayar is we call it in sports, she's increasing the bench,
yes,
the bench of our achievements as Egyptian tennis, day after day, month after month, the past 2 years. Obviously, having Mayar now in the status as a top 50 player will not only inspire or motivate, but it will elevate the whole Egyptian tennis for the coming years and for the coming new generations of Egyptian tennis players, especially female. We,
yes,
as the Egyptian Tennis Federation, we definitely with these achievements of Mayar, we anticipate in the next 3 to 5 years we're going to have not another Mayar, but probably 2 or 3 other Mayars moving up the ladder of the international tennis ranking through the WTA.
And sir, do you expect that Egypt in the coming period will see more tennis champions? As I know that some tennis players now are competing on the level of in the African tournaments, especially juniors. We have so many of them are achieving good ranks. So how do you see the future of juniors in the coming period?
As the Egyptian Federation planning in the past 4 years and in the coming 3 to 4 years, we have a long-term development, especially for the junior players. And I mean juniors, I mean the under 16 and under 18.
Yes, under 16.
We have a good base. that are competing regionally and,
Yes.
And in Africa.
Yes, in Tunisia there
We
was a
have top
tournament.
players,
Yes.
and these players eventually, 3 to 5 years from now, will be competing on the men's and ladies tour. And there's a long-term plan through the federation for these, we call them tier 1 players, or the top players in Egypt, that potentially, big chance, some of them will be entering the top 200, even the top 100 ranked player in the world.
So, sir, also, how do you see the role of the Egyptian Tennis Federation in supporting those young Egyptian tennis players? How can we help them achieve, make more achievements?
The Egyptian Tennis Federation, as I said, has been working in a very aggressive and a very planned direction for the past 4 years, under the leadership of Captain Ismail Shafi'i, with the whole team and the technical team. As I don't know if you're aware, we hired Mr. Frank Rhodes, who was an ex-ITF staff member with
Yes.
many years in technical and development experience. He's heading our developing and planning for all the players, the junior players, with Coach Diat Lotfi. He's our technical manager. And this team will be working on the planning, long-term planning of our Egyptian players. Because
Yes.
if you plan now and you have a good seat now, you're going to see it in 3-5 years. Exactly what happened with Mayar. So we want to do the same thing. I'll be doing the same thing
Yes.
with our junior players.
Yes, sir, it is worth mentioning that Egypt now is arranging many ITF tournaments throughout the year, and that was not the case before. So do you think that this will help tennis players to meet international players, be ready to compete on international levels?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Yes,
I'm very sorry.
I'm talking about tennis now, and Egypt is hosting many ITF tournaments,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that was
Yes.
not the case before. Now we can see all around the years many international players coming to Egypt to meet.
Yes, I'm sorry, I got you
Yes.
now. This is a strategy the Federation has adopted 3-4 years ago that for many reasons, including what's happening, the cost of traveling for junior players and even men's and ladies, and the COVID period that we got in, hopefully coming out of it. The Egyptian Tennis Federation has increased its ITF junior tournaments being hosted in Egypt from around 5-6 tournaments up to 16 international tournaments in
Yes.
Egypt, including a J1 tournament for the first time in Egypt, will be played next September. And I mean a J1, that's just one category before the JA. JA is Wimbledon, Roland Garros, US Open, French Open. So having 16 tournaments in Egypt, I think we're one of the top countries in the world to have that amount of ITF juniors being playing in one country, along with over 40 weeks of ITF future tournaments for
Yes,
men's
in
and
Sharm
ladies.
el-Sheikh, yes.
All this,
We have also future tournaments in Sharm el-Sheikh. Yes.
sorry?
We also arrange future tournaments
Yes.
for adults in Sharm
Yes.
el-Sheikh.
Yes, the future tournaments are played in 2 main locations in Egypt, one in Sharm el-Sheikh and at the Suleymaniya Club
Yes.
in Cairo.
And of course, this gives the chance to all Egyptian players to compete with the international players, be ready to advance more in this game. So, sir, also, if we talk about men's player, and we have also Safwat, who is competing on the men's level. Tell us more about his achievements these days.
Mohamed Safwat obviously is the #1 player of Egypt, and he's been a professional player for many years. And he's been in the top 200 for quite a while. Unfortunately, he dropped his ranking recently,
Yes.
and I think one of the main reasons is because of the COVID situation.
Yes.
But he's still competing. He lives abroad in Sweden. He trains there and he travels the world playing his tournaments. And hopefully, I mean, he will be able to have a comeback and back to at least the top 200 ranking in the near future.
Yes. So, sir, going back to Mayar Sharif and the great achievement that she did in the past few days, tell us more about her personality and why do you think she was able to reach this status?
Well, Mayar is a fighter. We all know that when you see her. She's very smart and clever in using her tools, her available tools, whether technical tools or physical or even mental. But Mayar overall, she is, they call it the Egyptian tennis queen. I would add that she is the Egyptian tennis fighter. She really fights for what she believes in, and that's where she is today as a top 50 player. And the credit goes to her spirit attitude, to her coach, to her parents, and obviously to her support system and the Egyptian Tennis Federation.
Yes. Also, Egypt participated with 2 tennis players in Tokyo 2020 Olympics for the first time in its Olympics history. Mayar Sharif, and Mohammed Safwat. So, how do you see this?
Well, fortunately, I was fortunate to be heading the Egyptian tennis delegation during Tokyo Olympics last summer with Mayar and Mohammed Safwat. And we had Coach Mustafa Naeem as a coach.
Yes.
I think it was a great experience for both players, although they were not able to win their match for the following round. But as you said, it was the first time ever in Egyptian tennis history that we have not one player, we have 2 players competing at the Olympics. And hopefully for Paris 2024, we are pretty sure Mayar, if she continues what she's doing, she'll be there. And hopefully we'll have a men's player also if Mohammed Safwat keeps on training and competing.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Hassan Arousi, former Egyptian tennis player and champion, vice president of the Egyptian Tennis Federation and member of the International Tennis Federation, ITF. Thank you, sir, for being with us, and we hope a speedy recovery for our tennis champion, Mayar Sharif. And by that, dear viewers, we come to the end of today's edition of The Breakfast Show. Thank you for watching.